All right, Devin, thanks so much. In your money news on your Saturday, the start of tax season has an official date. Tax season, which marks the period when people can file their 2025 taxes, is set to begin on January 26th. Some tax experts say the filing process could face delays in 2026 after tens of thousands of IRS workers were laid off last year. So while experts say it's important to file early, the agency says it has updated its systems to improve filing efficiency. The average tax return in 2025 was $3,167, but the White House says it will likely increase this year because of the provisions enacted in last summer's tax and spending package. And of course, one of the biggest changes coming to your taxes at home is something passed in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that we talked about so much last year from the Trump administration. So this was no tax on tips or overtime. So how exactly does that work? Financial expert Gene Marks is joining us now live this morning to talk about this. First of all, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So first off, is it as simple as it seems? No taxes on tips and overtime?
I got to give you the bottom line.
Okay.
So this is for anybody that's like a tipped worker right now, okay? So that normally gets tips in their job, restaurant workers, that kind of stuff, coffee shop workers, whatever. So you've got a big deduction that you can take, right? Up to a $25,000 deduction on your tipped income. It's pretty big. What most people don't realize is that this did not come out of your paycheck during the year. So to really take advantage of it, you got to file your tax return for 2025 and then claim that big deduction. That's going to reduce your taxable income, which means I am betting that many tipped workers paid a lot more in taxes during the year because they withheld too much. Right. So if you're a tipped worker and you were getting taxes withheld, you want to file your tax return as soon as possible because you're going to probably be due for a refund and it could be substantial, and you want to get it in there. And it takes like 4 to 6 weeks before those refunds happen. So very, very important that you do that.
So the earlier the better.
Yeah, and then if I can just say overtime workers.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So I know how hard you work. I don't know how much overtime that you get paid.
I wish salary, but there's a lot of we work with some overtime folks here. So talk to me about how that looks.
So for all of you guys that are watching that are that get overtime as part of your compensation, same deal. You can get a deduction, a tax deduction for that overtime. It's $12,500. Okay, for individual to take a deduction. Remember, that didn't come out during the year. You've got to claim that deduction on your tax return. So if you incurred overtime during the year, you want to make sure that you file your taxes as quickly as possible this year so you can get advantage of that, take advantage of that deduction, and hopefully get a refund back on your taxes.
So the earlier the better.
Yes. All this creates complications for employers this year. So as you know, I write about small business for the Inquirer every week. And I focus on small business owners. They are not required to report this information on your W-2 this year. Next year they will. The forms will change.
Gotcha.
So if you're a business owner or you're an employer and you're looking to do the W-2s, you are going to find that a lot of your employees are going to be coming to you during tax season and saying, hey, what was my tipped income, or what was my overtime income this year? And you're going to have to be able to tell them that so they can take advantage of their tax return.
Yeah.
So talk to your accountant, talk to your payroll company or whatever. Make sure you have those numbers at hand, or else you're going to have a lot of people lining up at your door on like April 12th, wanting to know what those numbers are.
So are there any limits at all for people?
So there are. So it starts cutting down if you're making more than $150,000 a year.
Okay.
So it's a fairly high limit for most people. So. But big tax advantages, big deductions that these guys can take, and big headaches potentially for employers this year getting all those numbers together. So it's we're early January right now. It's time to get prepared.
For sure. And you kind of tapped in on that. So you do need to declare the tips and overtime.
Correct. So what happens is that you're going to get that information from your employer, but there's now a separate line on your tax return that you can take this deduction for those tips or the overtime wages that you want. And one final thing when it comes to overtime.
Okay, there's so much to
I know,
need to know this.
A lot to know, but sometimes people get confused.
Yeah.
If say I make $20 an hour and then I work time and a half, so I got paid $30 an hour for my overtime, you don't get to deduct the full $30. It's only the differential, that $10 differential.
Okay.
So if you're an employer, a lot of employers might not know that, and so they might be giving the wrong numbers to their employees.
Yeah.
So again, it gets back to you need to talk to your accountant or to your payroll company if you're an employer. Make sure you've got those numbers available because you're going to be asked. And if you're an employee, man, file your taxes as soon as you possibly can, because you get some big refunds out there that you can grab.
The more you know, guys. Okay, so key things, do it early as possible.
Yes.
Declare. Anything else we want to know before we wrap up?
There's the biggest comments I want to make sure of. And obviously, if you need a professional to help you, or if you want to use a good tax application, Intuit has got a good one. H&R Block has got a good one. These are, whatever help that you can get to guide you is good. And one final thing, Shayna.
What's up?
A lot of people rely on, like, they're starting to use AI, like ChatGPT and things. You can ask it questions, just be careful. Please verify it in other sources as well. Don't just take whatever these AI applications tell you at face value.
All right, Gene, thank you so much for joining us.
Shayna.
We'll be talking through the year, of course. Thanks for your financial advice, and we'll be tapping in, of course, as we go on. If you have any questions, hashtag Fox29 Good Day. We'll certainly get you the answer as we learn it. But thanks so much. We'll come right back. Stay with us.